School bullies get owned by quiet girl, her response went viral. A story by Heartfelt Tales. The lunch tray crashed to the floor with a deafening clatter, sending mashed potatoes and green beans flying across the cafeteria tiles. Maya Chen stood frozen in the center of the chaos, chocolate milk dripping from her oversized sweater, while 300 pairs of eyes turned to stare. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before the laughter erupted like a volcanic explosion, echoing off the walls and burning into her memory forever. If you're enjoying this story of transformation and triumph, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring content. This wasn't Maya's first humiliation at Jefferson High, but something about this moment felt different. As she knelt to pick up the scattered remnants of her lunch, her hands trembling with embarrassment, she caught sight of 3 familiar faces smirking from the popular table. Jessica Martinez, the self-appointed queen of the school, was practically glowing with satisfaction. Her loyal followers, Brad Thompson and Samantha Reed, were recording the entire scene on their phones, no doubt planning to immortalize Maya's shame on social media. Maya had endured their torment for 2 years now. It started small, whispered comments about her second-hand clothes, accidental shoulder bumps in the hallway, mysterious disappearances of her homework. But lately, their cruelty had escalated. They'd created fake social media accounts to send her threatening messages, spread rumors that she smelled bad, and even convinced other students to avoid sitting near her during classes. The challenges Maya faced went far beyond typical teenage drama. Her family had immigrated from Taiwan when she was 10, and her parents worked double shifts at a local restaurant to make ends meet. While other kids worried about the latest trends, Maya worried about her mother's exhausted face when she came home at midnight, reeking of grease and disappointment. She wore the same 5 outfits in rotation, not because she wanted to, but because that's all they could afford. Her English, though fluent, still carried traces of an accent that Jessica loved to mock in cruel imitations. But perhaps the biggest challenge was Maya's own personality. She was naturally introverted, finding solace in books rather than social interactions. She preferred the quiet corner of the library to the chaotic energy of school events. This made her an easy target, someone who wouldn't fight back, wouldn't cause a scene, wouldn't rally friends to her defense because she barely had any. As Maya cleaned up her lunch mess, the cafeteria slowly returned to its normal buzz of conversation. She grabbed a handful of napkins and headed toward the bathroom, needing a moment to compose herself before her next class. But as she pushed open the heavy door, she heard footsteps behind her. "Oh Maya," Jessica's voice dripped with false sweetness. "I'm so sorry about your little accident out there. Maybe if you weren't such a clumsy freak, these things wouldn't happen." Maya turned around to find herself cornered by the trio. Her heart pounded against her ribs like a caged bird desperate for freedom. I need to get to class," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Did we say you could leave?" Brad stepped closer, his 6-foot frame casting a shadow over Maya's petite figure. "I think you owe Jessica an apology. You totally ruined her appetite with your pathetic display out there." Samantha snickered, holding up her phone. "This video is going to get so many views. Weird Asian girl faceplants in cafeteria. It's going viral for sure." Something inside Maya snapped. Not in the explosive way you might expect, but more like a quiet clicking sound, as if a lock had finally opened after years of pressure. She looked up at Jessica's perfectly contoured face, at Brad's smug expression, at Samantha's phone still recording, and for the first time in 2 years, she didn't look away. "You know what?" Maya's voice was steady now, clear and surprisingly strong. "I do owe someone an apology. I owe myself an apology for letting you 3 make me believe that I'm worth less than the gum on your shoes." Jessica's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Excuse me?" Maya took a deep breath, drawing strength from somewhere she didn't know existed. "I've spent 2 years watching you tear people down to build yourself up, and I've stayed quiet because I thought that was the right thing to do. But silence isn't kindness when it enables cruelty. Listen here, you little. Brad started forward, but Maya held up her hand. No, you listen. Jessica, you mock my accent, but I speak 3 languages fluently while you can barely conjugate verbs in English class. Brad, you call me weird for reading books, but your idea of intellectual conversation is arguing about which superhero would win in a fight. And Samantha, you laugh at my clothes, but at least I don't need to tear others down to feel good about myself. The bathroom fell silent except for the drip of a leaky faucet. Maya felt something shifting inside her chest, like ice melting in spring sunshine. She wasn't done. You want to know what's really pathetic? It's 3 people ganging up on someone who never did anything to hurt you. It's recording someone's pain for entertainment. It's being so insecure about yourselves that you have to create fake online accounts to send anonymous threats. Samantha's face paled. How did you? Because I'm not stupid, Maya continued, her confidence growing with each word. I traced the IP addresses. I have screenshots of everything. Every fake account, every threatening message, every cruel post you've made about me and probably dozens of other students. Jessica's mask of superiority was cracking. You can't prove anything. Maya pulled out her phone and opened a folder labeled Evidence. Screen after screen of screenshots, timestamps, and traced connections filled the display. Actually, I can prove everything. I've been documenting your harassment for months. Every incident, every witness, every piece of digital evidence. What are you going to do with that? Brad's voice had lost its threatening edge. Originally? Nothing. I was going to suffer in silence until graduation and hope you'd eventually get bored. But now I realize that my silence wasn't protecting me, it was protecting you. How many other students have you tortured? How many kids have switched schools, developed anxiety, or worse, because of your cruelty? Maya walked toward the bathroom door, then paused and turned back. I'm going to Principal Morrison's office right now. I'm going to show him everything, and I'm going to demand that this stops. Not just for me, but for everyone you've hurt. Wait. Jessica's voice cracked with desperation. You can't do this to us. Do you know what this could do to our college applications? Our reputations? Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy other people for sport. Maya's voice was calm, almost gentle. Actions have consequences, Jessica. You taught me that. As Maya reached for the door handle, Samantha grabbed her arm. Please, Maya. We're sorry, okay? We didn't mean for things to go this far. Maya looked down at Samantha's hand on her arm, then back up at her face. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. She gently removed Samantha's hand and walked out of the bathroom, leaving the 3 bullies standing in stunned silence. Her legs felt shaky, but her resolve was iron strong. For the first time in 2 years, Maya walked through the hallway without looking at the ground. The next hour was a blur of conversations with Principal Morrison, phone calls to parents, and meetings with the school counselor. Maya presented her evidence methodically, professionally, like the future lawyer she was destined to become. The documentation was extensive and damning, not just against Jessica, Brad, and Samantha, but revealing a pattern of systematic bullying that had affected dozens of students. By the end of the week, all 3 bullies were facing suspension, mandatory counseling, and removal from their leadership positions in student government and athletics. Their parents were called in for meetings, and the school implemented new anti-bullying policies with real consequences. But the most profound change wasn't in the punishment of the bullies, it was in Maya herself. Word of her courage spread through the school like wildfire, but not in the way she expected. Instead of mockery, she received support. Students she'd never spoken to approached her to share their own experiences with bullying. Teachers praised her bravery in speaking up. Even some of Jessica's former friends reached out to apologize for their silence. Maya discovered that she had a gift for advocacy. She started a peer support group for students dealing with bullying and harassment. Her quiet strength and genuine empathy drew people to her, and soon she was helping other students find their own voices. She realized that her introversion wasn't a weakness, it was a superpower that allowed her to listen deeply and understand others' pain. 3 months later, Maya stood at the podium in the school auditorium, addressing a packed crowd of students, parents, and faculty. She was giving the keynote speech for the newly established Courage Week, a school-wide initiative focused on building empathy and standing up to bullying. "My name is Maya Chen," she began, her voice clear and confident, "and I used to believe that being quiet made me invisible. I thought that if I didn't make waves, if I didn't fight back, if I just endured the cruelty silently, eventually it would stop." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. In the back row, she spotted Jessica, Brad, and Samantha, all three looking smaller somehow than they had that day in the bathroom. "I was wrong. Silence in the face of cruelty isn't peace, it's complicity. When we don't speak up for ourselves, we're not just allowing our own suffering to continue, we're enabling bullies to hurt others too." The auditorium was completely silent, hundreds of people hanging on every word. But here's what I learned about courage: it doesn't roar. Most of the time, courage is a quiet voice that says, "This isn't right," and then takes action to make it better. Courage is deciding that your own worth isn't determined by how others treat you. Courage is using your pain as a bridge to help others find their strength. Maya smiled, thinking about all the students who had found their voices through the support group, all the friendships that had formed, all the positive changes that had rippled through their school community. Every single person in this room has the power to choose kindness over cruelty, inclusion over exclusion, courage over silence. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to make a difference, you are. The question is whether you'll choose to use that strength. As Maya stepped away from the podium to thunderous applause, she caught sight of her parents in the front row. Her mother was crying, but these weren't tears of exhaustion or disappointment. They were tears of pride. Her father gave her a thumbs up, his face beaming with joy. Later that evening, as Maya updated the support group's social media page with photos from Courage Week, she reflected on how much her life had changed. She still loved books and quiet corners, but now she also loved speaking up, advocating for others, and using her voice to create positive change. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had left a comment on one of her advocacy posts: "Thank you for showing me that being different isn't being wrong. You saved my life." Maya smiled, knowing that her journey from victim to advocate was far from over. She had discovered her purpose: to help others find their strength, their voice, and their courage to stand up against injustice. The shy girl who once cleaned up spilled lunch in shame had grown into a powerful voice for change. She had learned that true strength doesn't come from putting others down, it comes from lifting them up. And in helping others find their courage, she had discovered her own. This story shows us that our greatest struggles can become our greatest strengths. Maya's transformation reminds us that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about acting despite our fears. If this story inspired you, please like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear this message, and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more stories of triumph over adversity. Your support helps us continue sharing tales that remind us of the power of resilience, kindness, and finding our voice. Don't forget to comment below and tell us about a time when you found the courage to stand up for yourself or others. Your story might inspire someone else to find their strength. Remember, you have the power to create positive change in your community, just like Maya did. Thank you for being part of the Heartfelt Tales family, and until next time, keep spreading kindness and courage wherever you go.